Welcome back to the Becoming Relentless podcast. I am your host, Noa McCabe, and I'm joined by my lovely co-host,
Danielle Kusenberger IG.
Woo! And today we have your favorite episode.
Every month.
We
shock you with the same thing.
It's about time that y'all get offended.
I should have waited for you. I got too excited. And then as I was saying it, I was like, oh, D, no.
I like it. I like the excitement. As always, we are here to challenge y'all to grow, to be better. So while we say be offended, get uncomfortable, hopefully you're not too offended. I mean, if you are, I feel like it's a signal.
Yeah. Well, yeah, if you are offended, it's always a signal, unless it's, most of the time you take it personally when you're offended. But there are some boundaries and lines that you should be offended by certain things people say.
Yeah.
But here in this episode, in this podcast with y'all, we're just here to challenge you, to make you better, to make you rethink things and perspectives of things.
Yes.
We got your back. And everything that we say, we have done. So
we have done or said at some point.
Yeah. Or been through, experienced,
yes.
cried. All right. Let's dive in.
Hey.
Discipline is the first one that I want to go over. I was doing cardio yesterday, and I was sitting on the ground before I did my cardio, since the morning cardio is always easy in terms of it's your mental therapy session before your day starts. In a way, you just get your time with yourself. It's dark outside, but the afternoon cardio is a different challenge. And I was sitting there and I was discussing with myself, if I didn't have this low motivation to get it done, I wouldn't see value in the goal. In the feeling we get after accomplishing something, especially cardio in the afternoon, gives you endorphins and like you're just on a high. But you wouldn't get that if you weren't disciplined. So discipline gives us power. If it were easy, the goal would not be valued. People operate mostly beginners. A lot of beginners operate on high motivation and letting motivation take them on a boat through the sea. And then when the big waves come, they sink because they don't realize, or they don't want to be willing to stay disciplined during those times. Discipline is the boat.
It is. I think that people want to rely on motivation, and we've talked about this a lot. If you're somebody who is asking your coach to provide motivation, you're not ready to do a contest prep. You're not. You should not be.
You know what's funny? At the gym, Taylor, you know who Taylor is? Her podcast, her and Sam have a podcast.
Yeah.
And she was talking to me about how there was something that we said about athletes on prep. In one of the past episodes, athletes on prep who constantly look at food pages or write down food or just constantly pick out things to eat shouldn't prep. And it's the same concept with this.
Yes.
If you are relying on motivation to get you through your prep, which we have so many athletes that ask us, can we start prep? I think that's going to keep me on my goals and on my plan and staying disciplined, checking off the boxes.
It's going to get me motivated.
It's actually going to crash you, and you're actually going to hate checking off the boxes. And honestly, you're probably just going to quit altogether. Every athlete that starts a prep, and I don't want to be absolute, 90% of athletes, high percentage of athletes that start a prep just for the sole purpose of teaching themselves how to check off boxes always fail. Always.
Yeah.
From my experience.
I really like the statement too, that the discipline gives us power, and that is what, and that the goal is valuable to us because of the discipline.
Mm-hmm.
Like I really want to dive more into that, like a little bit more.
Oh, absolutely.
So when you say that, like when you say like discipline is what not motivates.
Mm-hmm.
What did you originally say? My brain is still warming
you're
up.
Good. I wrote it down. So
yeah.
If you want me to, I said, a lot of times we as humans fall in the net of feeling lack of discipline or not feeling motivated, and allowing that factor to take us off course when we need to remember that lack of motivation allows us to showcase our discipline, which results in our goal being valuable to us.
Mm-hmm.
By allowing ourselves to show ourselves discipline and showing up, we're showing ourselves that not only the goal is valuable, but we as a human are valuable in our actions, and we get to honor ourselves in that way more.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to get at, is that by showing up for yourself in that way, like setting a goal that is hard and challenging and it requires discipline, you're teaching yourself that you can do those hard things and it just kind of snowballs into itself. I really, really like that. I think that's very powerful.
I feel like this was a nice way of being offended. We really broke it down, but we broke it down in a way that's going to touch more of your heart and understanding. I
Right.
do feel like on Instagram, especially, there's so much, honestly, on all social media platforms. You look up to people like David Goggins and athletes that are so high level, and all like these athletes are great to look up to, but all you hear is the same line of motivation doesn't carry you, discipline does. Work
Mhm.
harder. And that honestly triggers nothing for most people because you see it all the time. It's just one of those like, oh, cool, like work harder, but it doesn't get you going. So if you can logically and emotionally connect with the word or the phrase
Mhm.
and see how the value is going to impact you personally, it's going to allow you to upscale your journey.
Yes. If the goal is too easy as well, I like that you brought that in because if the goal is easy, then it's not valuable. So you almost have to make the goal really difficult in order to bring in that discipline to make you work harder for it.
Mm-hmm.
Like the discipline and the difficulty of the goal go hand in hand.
Mm-hmm.
I think some people struggle with that. You may set a goal that's not very difficult, and then it doesn't take a lot of your discipline to reach it. So you're
Exactly.
not teaching yourself that you can actually do hard things. You're almost devaluing it, devaluing yourself by setting these low goals.
I love
So,
that. You as a person also understand with yourself what's a realistic high goal. And if you need help with that, that's what we're here for. But I would say if you're assessing, look at your highest goal and pick something that's a little levels lower than that, 2 or 3 levels lower, instead of going from your lowest goal and picking something that's a little bit higher.
mhm,
Go for your highest goal,
I like that.
like stepping stones. Even you can look at it as longevity because we have long-term goals, right? So long-term Olympia. Well, we can't qualify and be at the Olympia tomorrow. So
I wish,
stepping stone, yeah, for me
but I
it is
don't.
going pro. For you is doing your pro debut or just winning, like for both of us, being a top college. So there's all these stepping stones. So look, when you're assessing your goals, picking out a stepping stone that's going to help you get to a long-term goal accomplished is a great way to set those high realistic goals.
Yeah, agreed.
I want you to hit me.
All right. This one is going to be offensive, maybe, to people.
Offensive, maybe.
Offensive, maybe. The phrase, gym is therapy. Gym is my therapy.
This is definitely going to offend a lot of people.
I cannot stand when people say that. And I 100% disagree. I don't think that the gym is therapy. I think that the gym can provide some mental well-being and benefits. Absolutely. Is it a substitute for therapy? No. And if you're a high-level competitor, if you're an advanced competitor, if you think that you maybe want to compete at all, you need therapy. The reason why, this is an extreme sport. It is going to chew you up and spit you out and leave you with absolutely nothing if you are not mentally prepared for what it's going to ask of you. I think that a lot of people see the glitz and the glam on social media. You see people step on stage and look absolutely incredible. You see the show day experience. You see them go out and eat a bunch of food, and you think, oh, I want to do that. What you don't see behind all of that fun, like social media stuff, are the struggles, are the discipline, the things that they had to go through to sacrifice to get there. And honestly, your mental health is going to suffer during prep, after prep, especially after prep. I think that if you have that mindset that gym is therapy, you're setting yourself up for failure in the long term because the gym is not a substitute for therapy. Therapy is so incredibly important. It's a tool that needs to be utilized. I think that there's still stigma around it. I have a bachelor's degree in psychology, so I think understanding the human mind and what drives us is incredibly important, but I also understand the importance of going to therapy, of utilizing tools at your disposal, of finding a professional who can help you safeguard your mental health while you're going through a prep and beyond.
Very good. I agree. I agree with everything you said. I do believe that for a lot of people, the gym and training is a great positive outlet that can help your mental health, but it's a Band-Aid.
It can be.
Mm-hmm.
So I definitely agree with that. I think that it's very common that people go to the gym for those mental well-being benefits, and that's great. That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
But when you say the gym is my therapy or gym is therapy, and you're attaching your mental health and well-being to going and training, what happens when you have an injury and you can't train, or you travel and you can't train? Or
That's what I was going to bring up. Athletes who travel that are under us, I'm sure you experience, they freak out when they miss a training session. Or I always tell them, if you're on a vacation, enjoy the vacation. You're spending at most a week, usually. That's 51 weeks in the gym and 1 week not. You're fine. You're fine. And if you're a competitor, just let you know, some of the times your peak week, you're not even in the gym. There's maybe a few training sessions. So just put that out there, because a lot of people just don't know. They don't know the process of prep. They also, I do want to touch on, as a competitor, Noah definitely hit home with the discipline part, but also the mental battles of, I don't struggle with this so much anymore. That is big reason because I'm going through my personal growth journey at the same time right now. But prepping is literally the ultimate guide to how to compare your body to another person. And you're allowing someone else to give you a trophy or not for your work and your body. And whether you're doing it for the glitz and glam, I promise you the comparison is going to get to you and it's going to eat you alive, especially in the reverse part when you're done competing. Another thing that athletes who don't compete don't really experience, in my opinion, as to the level that competitors do, when you're at home and say you're doing a 30-week prep, you're 25 weeks out and you miss a cardio session, whether it's by choice or whether life happened and you had to take someone to the hospital or XYZ, you missing that cardio session eats you alive for a while. And you just question yourself, was that it? And it will constantly eat at you. And those little things, even if it's not even missing a cardio session, maybe in one of your sets, you felt like you could have gotten something better, or maybe a training session could have been better, but because of XYZ, you're depleted. You can't mentally connect like usual. These little things eat you alive throughout the day, and they do affect your mental health big time, because it's basically trying to take down your own worth as a human. And one thing that I believe successful athletes long-term have is they understand the worth of themselves as a human is vastly different than any title or accomplishment within their journey, but they do that alongside it. But competing will eat you alive.
It absolutely will. And competing is not a substitute for traditional therapy, because often competitors, y'all listening, you have deep-seated issues that need to be worked out with a professional, not through contest prep or through throwing yourself into training or bodybuilding. And I guess my biggest point with this one is that if you're one of those people that's like, the gym is my therapy, gym is therapy, I think you need to go to actual therapy and address some of the reasons why you feel as though going to the gym is a substitute. What is that hiding for you? What is that acting as a Band-Aid for that you're not actually addressing?
I agree. And if you think about it, lifestyle or not, say you're a lifestyle athlete and you use gym as therapy, you go to the gym, you have a great 2 hours in there where nothing in the world matters except for you and yourself. You go home and the world's crashing because your world outside the gym is a burning HELL zone. That is not a very productive space to be at within your life. Same thing with prep. You can do 20-week, 30-week, whatever amount of prep, and you ignore every issue in your life except within those 30 weeks, but then you come out of your prep and everything is 10 times worse and hits you 10 times harder because you decided to ignore it. That's what happens too. Everything gets worse.
Mm-hmm. It can. So highly recommend therapy. There's tons of resources out there. If you're not sure where to start, DM me. I actually have a link to a website that provides professional like therapists recommendations for any area that you live in, because every state's going to be different.
I didn't know you had that. I want it.
I can send it to you. That's how I found my therapist
love
in Colorado.
therapy.
I'm looking for a therapist here in Texas.
Yeah, that's the difficult
love it.
part. But it's just like for hiring a coach, you just gotta explore.
Yeah, and some therapists, actually, if I have a recommendation, if you're budgeting or you have a little bit of like financial like limitations, I recommend finding a graduate student who's in a doctoral program, because they have to get clinical hours. They're likely working under a mentor, like they're working under a psychologist, but they will have reduced rates. And honestly, working with them is a lot of fun because everything is so fresh in their brains. They've just gone through school or they're finishing up school. So they're going to have a different perspective than maybe a therapist who's been practicing for years and years and years. There's pros and cons to both, but I have heard really great things about working with people who are just finishing up their programs and you're helping them get hours. Their rates are going to be reduced. Their help is going to be amazing. And you're likely going to get a lot more attention than somebody who has like a flourishing practice and lots of patients. Just my 2 cents. That's my opinion. But
sounds like an ad, but it's great.
I know, it's
that was
not
really
an ad.
good. That was really good.
I just wanted to say that. All right, hit us. What is the next one?
Hit us, D. I want you to touch on confidence, so I'm going to go with the holiday.
Okay.
Allowing the holidays to be a reason for you gaining weight or slacking off on your goals, which is the most common thing, I feel like, for the universe during every holiday. And you know what's funny is I used to be that person too. And I understand, like, dude, I'd be going to Trader Joe's and I'm like, yes,
Pumpkin
but I can't have.
Yeah.
And it's so fun to look at all the festive stuff. And don't worry, like, I love holiday season food. I love holiday season vibes. I love holiday season changes. I think it's so fun. I think if you are able to go and buy yourself treats that only happen during Christmas or Halloween or Thanksgiving, like, go and buy yourself the thing and have it, but don't let yourself sack off on your goals. You can still have a pumpkin spice muffin and hit training and hit cardio and hit your macros and hit your things throughout the week and still progress. If you can't, for one, either you're in a prep. I believe as a human, if you're a lifestyle athlete, you should be able to do those things, because if you think about it, the way I want an athlete to achieve their goals is year round. It's not so much 12 weeks and then you're off and like free like a kid.
Right.
Come back when summer's over kind of thing. No, it's if you want to look good year round, you can. You can eat the muffin, you can have the Pop-Tart, you can have whatever while still progressing. And that's what fitness and lifestyle should be.
I agree. And I think that people don't realize you can have those things and you can also continue to work hard. I feel like there is or maybe I'll frame this as a question. Do you feel like there is pressure from society or maybe from like families or whatever for people to not go to the gym during holidays or not continue with their fitness because it's the holidays?
I feel like there's multiple reasons, but very common reasons. I feel like, for one, some people see themselves gaining weight, or they think they do. They have a nice meal out because it's the holiday season. The next day they're up 5 pounds, so they gave up. When in reality, it's just water retention or lots of traveling, or maybe. But all of these are excuses, to be honest. Like, every reason that you can think of for a reason to gain weight or allow yourself to gain or slack off during the holidays are all excuses. Because if you were to take the holiday away, every day is the same day.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying go train on Christmas. I'm not saying go train Christmas week. You can take the whole week off and still achieve your goals, though. That's what people don't understand or don't know how to implement.
Mm.
And that's why having not only a high level coach that's educated in that kind of coaching, because there are coaches that will say, nah, all in, that's all I do. And that's okay. That's their method, but that's just not my method. I think there is a lot of pressure. I believe 100%. There's a lot of pressure for lifestyle people to be all in or nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the pressure they put on from themselves, not from the coach, not from anyone, but mostly from themselves. And that's from my experience, because all the athletes that struggle with me is because they messed up on a meal, or they allowed themselves to have cake and like on a birthday party instead of hitting their meal prep. And they decided like the world's burning and that week's a wash. Or
And
those
they
3
already
days.
messed up, so they might as well keep it going.
And they come back to me a few days later and they're like, I'm so sorry. I let you down. I let myself down. I didn't do it, but I'm willing, like, I want to be better. You're not supposed to be perfect. You hire a coach to mess up. Every person is going to be human and they're going to mess up. You're supposed to communicate that with the person, your coach, I believe, so that the coach can help you find ways to have the cake in occasional times while still being able to hit meal preps at occasional times and see yourself progress. So I think the pressure is all from themselves.
It is the all or nothing mindset for sure.
But I also believe it's all or nothing mindset, because within this mindset, an athlete knows if they choose an all or nothing mindset, they know they're going to fail. And that gives them an easy way out, because failing is easy. Failing, saying, oh, I messed up, even though it's harder to get back on after you fail. It's an easy way out.
Mm-hmm.
It's an easy way to say, oh, next time I'm going to give myself 2 weeks because I failed. I need to kind of feel what this look feels like and get mad. No, you're allowing yourself 2 weeks to slack off. That's what it is. Allowing yourself to have things in moderation. It's much harder discipline to practice and implement in your life, because it's a change of ways. But the all or nothing mindset allows people to have an easy way out.
I agree. It's an excuse in itself.
Mm-hmm.
Almost like when people say that they're perfectionists, but they can't perfectly hit their diet or training or steps or water. So it's like, what are you a perfectionist about?
Dude, I don't know any perfectionist. I know people that have aspects of perfectionism in certain areas, but like within fitness, I don't know anyone that's a perfectionist.
And if you think that you are, or you try to say that you are, you label yourself as that, or you believe that you are, it's actually an excuse, because it's masking some area where you feel some sort of inadequacy.
I love that. Inadequacy. In a prep phase, you can be a perfectionist, as you should, because that's what you're literally practicing that every day. But even then, there will be times where life happens and you got to the gym an hour later, so your meal times are an hour like off, or XYZ happens.
And then if you have that pressure to be a perfectionist, then you're unnecessarily stressed about things that shouldn't be stressed about. And so then you're almost taking yourself even more off track. Because if you're a perfectionist and you're on prep and you miss...
The alarm doesn't go off in time, and now you're waking up 2 hours later, which, dude, it happened to you, me, and Justin in the same week, and I thought that was super funny.
That's wild.
It happened to me, and then the first day, then it happened to Justin, and then on Wednesday it happened to you.
That's weird. Something's going around. Like something with our phones.
Yeah, I was like,
our alarms.
But you know what we all did? We all said, okay, well, that's that.
Yeah.
It's time to get my day started.
You just adapt. You're like, well,
miss cardio, guess I'll have to double it up next or later in the week. That's okay. It's life. You have to work with life.
I think aiming to nail your protocols every single day in whatever capacity that looks like for you, that's perfect.
You know what's also toxic about the all or nothing mindset is the big component of binge eating. Can't talk in absolutes, but most people who binge eat have this mindset of it's all or nothing. And I want that person to take a step back, because if you're so food focused, which usually sometimes you are, if you were to say, okay, I have five's a lot. I have 3 ice cream pints in front of me. Most of the time you'd eat all 3. Let's just use that. That's a lot. But if you were to think, okay, what if I just have half of each one? That means I can have the other half of each one tomorrow. And even though that's still way over maybe your macros or XYZ, that little practice of just saving it for yourself to have later can definitely teach you how to set mental controllable like discipline practices throughout your journey of overcoming the binge eating.
I like that a lot. I've struggled a little bit sometimes with that mindset, like coming out of a long prep phase.
For sure.
It's if there's a pack of bagels, like I will have one, but then I'm like, oh, well, I just had a bagel, but now I want like a PB&J bagel. And then I have that, and then I'm like, well, now I
The
want a
variations.
BLT,
Yeah,
like on a
I
bagel.
understand that.
And it snowballs. Actually, coming home from North Americans 2 years ago or 3 years ago now, I had a pack of leftover English muffins from like Peking. I ate 6 English muffins
You
on
know
the
what?
flight,
Bro,
on the plane.
I need to tell you, this is funny.
But
That is hilarious.
and getting off the plane, I was like, why did I do that? Because I was just sitting there eating the English muffins.
You know what's funny though? I have 2 things to say. You know what's funny is that out of you had 6 English muffins, you said? You could have had like a bag of M&Ms, which is way tastier, but you chose the English muffins. And it's like, ah, shoot. And I have it, like, I understand exactly because I've been there one time. So this is around the same time period. You know those biscuits, but what do you get them in a can and then you pop the can and like,
Yeah.
what do you
Like
call
the
that logo?
crescent,
Yeah.
Pillsbury, like
Yeah.
crescent rolls or
Well,
whatever.
it was the minis and it comes with 5 and each one was like 20 carb. And I was like, I can have 5 of these and it like be totally okay. I ate the whole thing. That was like the same period. Yeah. What if we
Like
did on
the
the same
little
day?
steamroll.
Little did we know we're like
It's like it happens.
it happens.
You know,
Essentially, that's
thing.
what we're saying about the coming out of the prep and it's not going to fix your problems. Coming out of a prep actually heightens everything.
It does.
You have to teach yourself how to be disciplined and control and not all in mindset and all these aspects.
And that's what it is it's an evolving practice. But I think people you're really hard on yourself because on that day I got home, I told Zach, I was like, yeah, I just ate 6 English muffins on the 2-hour flight. And I don't know why I did that, but it was a learning experience. I was like, well, I guess I did it. So whatever.
Yeah. And it's all learning.
And that's the thing is like when you're coming out of a prep, if you're mentally not prepared, like you might overeat. And like you're saying, it's about practicing putting those controls in, but not beating yourself up for it and not punishing yourself or carrying guilt and shame because that's when it starts to become an actual issue. If you can just accept that, hey, yeah, I overate yesterday, darn it, move on. It's fine.
And I want y'all to take a step back and realize that we've done it multiple times, literally last year, like multiple times. Christmas Day, like every single human, I think most of the time, are eating twice their body weight. Like, we just, like we do it. We have been there and we're still able to show up for ourselves the next day and we still look, no offense, but really good. So you can do it too. You definitely can. Are you struggling with food right now? A little bit with the all in?
Yes and no. I would say when we called it and ended prep and I didn't step on stage, there's maybe a week or 2 where I was still upset about it. So I was still acting like I was on prep. But now that we've definitely moved away, I've gained body weight. I really like where I'm at. And so I struggle because I want to stay here. But I also am like, well, I get free meals and my body can handle extra calories. So then if I get a craving or if I'm like, oh man, I really want delights or I really want froyo, it's almost too much of a mental conversation that I have with myself. So I wouldn't say like food focus is high. I would say more so like the feelings around it.
Do you feel like you're restricting yourself? You're fighting yourself to allow yourself to do it?
Yes. Like I'm fighting the restriction versus like enjoy myself because I really like the way I look and feel and I want to maintain this, but I know also I have to grow and that means eating.
So I also want to put another
You know what I mean?
perspective in your head. which I'm sure you've thought about, but you know you'd also feel better if you didn't have this conversation in your head. You had more energy to give elsewhere.
Exactly. I don't
So
want to think about it.
the key to doing that is allowing yourself. But just like with anything in mental health, you have to be self-aware, and then you have to be willing to allow yourself to grow from it. So same with like this situation, you have to be willing to allow yourself to have the food, because I promise you, when you go through allowing yourself to have little things like the froyo here and there, you're going to realize that your cravings actually probably decrease, but you're also able to eat these things and not have any conversation at all with
Right.
yourself, and you're going to love your body and the way you feel even more.
I like that. I appreciate that.
I'm sure you
Also,
thought
my
about
period is coming. So
Girl,
I
period.
you know,
Oh my gosh.
like this week has been a struggle. And my clients, like my athletes, ladies, I know y'all are listening to this because you guys, I actually had like 3 athletes ask me this exact question. How do you not eat everything in sight when your period's about to start? And honestly, I don't know. I be thinking about it too. Like for
It's
real.
funny.
Like froyo be looking real good right now. And
Dude,
like
yeah.
not just like the froyo. I go to the froyo and I'm
Oh
piling
yeah,
on the
you gotta froyo. You better be, bro. I
Like,
saw something. I was reading a book. I was reading the book the other day, and it was talking about froyo, and she was like, she listed her flavor, and I was sitting there like, you only get one flavor. Are you the type to only get one flavor? Okay, good, because
I have
I'm
like 6 flavors.
exactly.
All the top. Like it's like half yogurt, half topping.
Yeah, bro. You know what's the best? Get your flavors, get the toppings, go get more flavor, and then double top. Now you have like layers.
Oh, that's so smart.
Yeah.
That's really smart. Tip.
Yeah.
Free tips.
We know our food.
We do.
That's funny. Okay, I want you to hit me
What
with
is the next
confidence.
one? Confidence. If you can't wake up and confidently make your bed, why would you have confidence in yourself? So, the reason why I bring this up is because a lot of you think that your confidence is going to come when you finally lose that 10 pounds, 20 pounds, when you finally have a 6-pack, when you can finally do 10 pull-ups. Actually, that one might be true. But
I know. I was like, wait a sec. Can I do 10 pull-ups?
the appearance, your external appearance is not going to magically fix the way that you feel about yourself inside. And this is a really difficult concept that I know a lot of people struggle with. I've struggled with it, but when you're seeking that external validation, whether that is how you look, the compliments that you get from other people when you're losing weight, validation from your coach, that isn't actually building your self-confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Your self-confidence comes from within. The self-belief is built from within, and it comes from setting difficult goals, executing daily on tasks that you tell yourself you're going to complete, and just continuously showing up for yourself and showing yourself that you follow through on what you say you're going to do. And the reason why I think the bed analogy is so popular, like people always say, wake up and make your bed, because it's literally the easiest thing that you can do to show yourself that you care about your environment, you care about yourself. It's an item that can be easily completed. But if you wake up, you jump out of bed, you leave it a mess, what are you showing yourself? What are you telling yourself? And when you get back home and your bed is disheveled, it doesn't look clean, how does that make you feel about yourself? And maybe some of y'all are like, I don't care. Well, okay, that's fine. But to me, I think that having a clean environment reflects your state of mind, reflects how you're feeling about yourself and your environment, your surroundings, the people around you. So the easiest way to do that is to keep things clean and just to wake up and make your bed. And eventually it'll become a habit. You won't even think about it. But the confidence, essentially what I want people to take away from this is that you can build your confidence by doing these small things, like making your bed.
Yes. The small tasks that build and compile.
Mm-hmm.
The actions mean more than the physical features, but they result in the physical features.
Yes. So like I think when you face a difficulty or a challenge and you're able to meet that challenge and overcome it, that gives you a sense of accomplishment and pride, and that adds to your self-confidence. And when you're constantly looking to outside sources, what happens when you don't get it from them? Like, let's say you're constantly asking your coach for some validation and they don't give it to you. You end up taking that so personally when it shouldn't be, because your internal self-worth isn't built up.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think it's really important that if you're looking to build your self-confidence, you need to start with the internal work and not the external. I think losing 10 pounds or 100 pounds, that's a great goal. That's a great external goal to have. But on the way there, you need to love the process of getting to that goal and of building yourself up, celebrating the small wins. A lot of my athletes, we set mini goals throughout the weeks, throughout the months. I love to have little ways for them to celebrate their progress, because there might be weeks where you don't lose weight. There might be weeks where we don't see any difference in your pictures. But hey, you hit a shoulder press PR. That's amazing. That is something to celebrate, because that's something that will build your self-confidence up over time. And maybe we don't reach that end goal. Maybe your goal was to lose the 10 pounds and we only lose 8, but you look and feel amazing. Your strength is up, your energy's up, your clothes fit different. You have that confidence already. It wasn't the 10 pounds. It was going through the journey and celebrating the small wins and progressions over time that had nothing to do with that scale weight or nothing to do with the way that you looked.
I love this. So I'm glad you hopped on the scale weight, because I did a reel on this that I haven't posted. And I was talking to an athlete because she is very tied with the scale, which is very common, especially for females. When you see your body, you don't see a number. You see what the body does for you and what you have done within your work for your body, how you showed up for your body, and how it, yes, you see physicals, but you see more than that, because you actually are feeling within your skin, because we're more than just bodies. We're literally conscious minds. So we literally have thoughts coming through ourselves 24/7. And oftentimes athletes that tie their focus on the scale aren't able to realize when they look themselves in the mirror, they don't see a number. You don't look at yourself and see 140 or 120 or 160 or 168. You just see your body. So if you can change your mindset and think of it that way, that might help.
I like that a lot. The mindset shift, because that's part of the internal work is shifting your perspective and realizing that it's just a number. It doesn't actually show you your work, your dedication, the effort that you're putting in. And there's a lot more to you than just a number. You're a human, you're a conscious being, your energy.
These people, just like with job titles and career, they tie their self-worth to the number on the scale. Just like a successful business person ties his or her worth towards the career title, like CEO versus starting employee. I don't know what they call them. It's the same practice and issue for both individuals, whether you're in fitness or you're the business entrepreneur who's tied their worth to the title. At the end of the day, our worth is just our single selves without everything, without anything. So our identity and ourselves, separating that, and then separating our identity from your title as well. There's so many different levels, but you yourself is worthy without any title or any number or scale or physical feature or any person.
Yes, I love that. The confidence. And do you think that people can fake confidence?
100%. I see it all the time. But I also see it all the time on Instagram mostly.
Mm-hmm.
But I have been around it. And in some ways, I know these people are faking it. In some ways, I wonder if they're faking it so much to themselves that they believe it. I also believe that the way people may act and carry themselves, and the verbiage that they use, but also the tone in which they use the verbiage, can sound fake to other people, because they were brought up in a different area. So somewhere high up, very rich California. I'm just going to use California. Very rich, maybe Orange County, right? A person that grows up there is going to talk vastly different than someone raised from San Antonio on the east side who doesn't have as much money or isn't around as much status. Yet their confidence levels can still be purely high, not fake.
Mm-hmm.
But this person may seem fake because they just have more status. So the way they talk is a very different way than this person. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
So I've had to, like, personally, I've had to check my ego or check myself in terms of, is this person actually being fake? Or do they really have that confidence and they're just from a different place and talk differently? So.
That's very interesting. I do think that there's like a difference between the confidence that people put forth, like on social media or in large groups of people, versus the innate, like, quiet confidence that somebody can have in just like how they move through their day. Like, you can tell walking down the street who's confident and who's not just by how their body language is. I've always found that super interesting. I love watching people, and like even myself in the mornings, seeing how I walk and present myself. Sometimes I ask, like, do I look confident right now, or am I like in my shell? And it's just been kind of fun figuring out like different ways to portray that confidence, but also to like build it up within yourself.
I also think it's important to, I liked what you said. Do I look confident or do I not? But for some people, I find myself struggling with the fact that sometimes I do want to portray myself as confident because I'm a leader. I'm a coach that helps you feel good when others see you as confident. But it's more important for you to see yourself as confident. So I like to, even if XYZ or people around me don't view me as confident right now, if I know that I'm secure in myself right now, that's what means the most.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I like that. I appreciate that. I think that is very important.
Yeah,
that it's like you first.
Yeah, because I do think in that way it could come to the point where you are faking your confidence. Because do I look confident to people right now? No. My chest is low. Someone raise my chest high. I'm going to bring my shoulders back. And I'm going to smile and acknowledge everyone else. But that's external. That's all external.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't change the fact if you do or don't feel secure and confident within yourself. It just changes the fact of how others are
how you're
viewing
presenting
you.
it.
Yeah.
Or presenting to the world. Yeah.
Yeah.
That makes sense. All right. What's the last one? Do we have a last one? We have a last one. Are we going to offend them?
We are going to
one more time?
Mm-hmm. Do you want it?
It was the post, the screenshot that you sent.
I did screenshot it.
I want to hear what you thought because...
Ask me it. Ask me
okay. Growing muscle in 3 to 6 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Possible?
Absolutely. Absolutely possible. I don't have any like data. I don't have like a chart to show y'all.
The fibers of the glute max.
Yeah.
In
but
3
you
to 6 weeks.
can't tell me that like there isn't something happening after training super hard in 3 to 6 weeks. I'm not saying you're going to see it. I'm not going to say that. And maybe growing muscle isn't the correct term that I want to use. It's more so you can pump up a muscle by forcing blood into it over 3 to 6 week span period to the point where you physically feel your pump every day more so than the past.
Mm-hmm.
Just like in a prep setting too, right now I feel so good with training. And the number one reason for that is because I constantly have a pump because there's constantly blood within my muscle, and that's allowing me to have better connection in training. But it's also because of the cardio. So if I can always have blood within my muscle right now, I'm able to get a greater or feel a greater connection within the pump. So it's allowing my training to just feel better. That being said, it's still important to take rest days.
Yes. So when you screenshotted this, what was your thought process? Were you thinking that people who say you can't grow muscle in 3 to 6 weeks, that is...
Yeah, I was pointing fingers more at the people who say they can't or a person cannot build muscle within a short period of time. Because I believe it's very possible. I believe it's different in the amount based off genetics. Like you for 3 to 6 weeks are going to look different than me. It's also going to be different in the type of training, where you're training, how you're training, and the athletes intake, XYZ. Like it's all different depending on the person, but I do think it's very possible to happen.
Cool. I agree. So I think that there's misconceptions, and you might say like you can't grow muscle in 3 to 6 weeks, but it all depends on the individual, on the context. I do believe that there can be changes made and hypertrophy in the course of 3 to 6 weeks. And of course, there's so many variables that go into that. And you mentioned like majority of them. There's the newbie gains, like, or if you've been injured, so you're like detrained, you'll probably see muscle growth faster. So like the phase that you're in, advanced versus not advanced lifters, contest prep versus like deep into off season, like your body fat percentage, how your body's utilizing nutrients, genetics, supplementation, rest, training, like intensity, frequency. There's so many variables that go into it, but bottom line, you can absolutely grow muscle in 3 to 6 weeks.
I also want to point out too, if you're listening to this and if you're not a competitor, because a competitor, obviously muscle mass does correlate to your progress on stage or your result on stage. If you're an athlete or a lifestyle athlete, who cares if it's a muscle or not, if you feel better and you look better? Example within the pump, if you're going to the gym for 3 to 6 weeks, you physically have a better pump every week by the way that you're training. You don't care if it's muscle or not. You feel better, you look better, and that's what matters to you at the end of the day. We're not sitting here at home testing our muscle mass every night like, oh, did I grow a percent? No, we're assessing ourselves physically and internally with how we feel and our health, and whether we showed up for our self-discipline in disciplined ways that day or that week. So at the end of the day, what matters is just like how we like showing up. Whether it's muscle or not, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
Unless you're a competitor.
Unless you're a competitor. I do think there's also that factor that people say like you can't grow in a deficit, but a contest prep is a controlled deficit, and you can absolutely grow within a contest
we've
prep.
had some haters on this one.
I know.
I will fight till I die for the fact that you can absolutely and will absolutely grow muscle in a contest prep.
I'm literally walking proof. Like I
was just going to say
pictures.
that. Can you take a look? Yeah. Absolutely. And oh my gosh, if you are losing muscle in a contest prep, it's simply because you're not training hard enough. And I do understand once you get to a certain mark and you're so depleted and you maybe have the lowest macros of all time, that it's really difficult for the body during that period, the length and longevity to grow muscle. But it is absolutely possible to go through a contest prep, and should be happening that you're growing muscle during that time.
Yep, 100%. We will fight on that hill forever.
I will fight on that hill, and I will win that battle without any data proving, because I believe it.
I am 100% behind that.
It's one of those things that you won't prove me wrong, but it's the fact that there could be data that says otherwise, and I'm absolutely going to still believe what I feel, because I just feel it happening. I see it happening. But I know there's data that will back up our point, so come at us.
There's always going to be science that backs up both sides. Yeah. That's the funny thing too, is the science-based coaches, which I think all good coaches should have scientific backing. Like we should have studied the science, which we do. We keep up to date with studies coming out, but that doesn't dictate our every move, right? Because coaching is ever evolving. Fitness and exercise science is ever evolving. So there might be a study that says X. Well, there's going to be a study in 2 years that says Y. So you can find things to back up your point or your belief anywhere, anytime, everywhere. And it's kind of, what have you seen like as a coach anecdotally? And I know for myself, I have grown muscle mass during all of my contest preps.
Bet me a freaking $1 million I will not be losing muscle mass during contest prep, because then I will be losing on stage.
She's not going to let that happen.
No.
Look at her. She's jacked.
Oh, thanks.
Do you have any closing statements? Any closing words for the audience today?
Be offended, get uncomfortable. Whatever that means for you, even if it's not a topic that we discuss, but you realize there's something on your mind, there's something that it's offending you because maybe you're not showing up in the ways that you know you could. Or like, for example, today, I put my headphones on and I didn't say hi to everyone that I probably should have said hi to. And I am pissed at myself right now because if I want to be the leader in terms of the mental health coaching realm eventually, I know that person goes out of her way to say hi to people and acknowledge people and XYZ. And even though I might have been so focused, I want to still show up as that person. So I am offended by myself in my own ways and that. So I'm getting uncomfortable. Do that for yourself. Find ways that you can offend yourself and get uncomfortable.
I challenge everybody listening to take the last thing that made you so offended and ask yourself, what if they're right? What if that person or that thing that offended me so badly, what if it's right? And go down that path.
Let your ego put it aside.
Let yourself explore.
You know what's fun too? Mm-hmm. If it's fun doing that and putting your ego to the side, even if you say only for 2 minutes, I'm going to act like they're right. And let yourself go down the rabbit hole Noah's saying.
It's going to be uncomfortable. And you might still be offended, but
you might be pissed off and you're supposed to be.
You're going to learn and grow from that. And just giving another perspective a chance is growth mindset. And you're allowing yourself to be open to possibilities and opportunities. And I think that is such a beautiful thing.
Beautiful.
Beautiful.
Stay beautiful.
So get offended, be uncomfortable, be offended, get uncomfortable.
And we'll hit you next month with
more. We'll catch you on the next one. Peace.
Thank you for listening to our podcast, Becoming Relentless. We hope that you leave this podcast feeling really relentless. That's what our goal is here. Please leave us a 5-star review. If you want to reach us, you can reach us through DM. My Instagram is Danielle Kusenberger. Noah, where can they find you?
My Instagram is Noa McCabe _IFBB Pro. And our Becoming Relentless podcast Instagram will also be linked in the bio. Make sure that y'all keep coming back every week. Like, share, subscribe. We love being tagged in your stories. And as always, leave us a comment, any questions, and we'll catch you on the next one.